Hello and welcome to our Legends of the Game podcast, our first one. This is the Geotechnology podcast where we're interviewing retirees and senior leaders. This is my guest, Ed Alizadeh, our CEO and president. And my name is Luke Ducey. I am a geologist and business development staff here at Geotech and been here 7 years. So let me introduce our guest. Ed is a graduate from the University of Tulsa with his BS in petroleum engineering and a graduate from St. Louis University School of Law. Go Bills, my fellow alum. Ed
Go
is the
Hurricane.
Ed is the CEO of Geotech and has been at Geotechnology almost 33 years. Ed has significant experience with environmental consulting, particularly focused on subsurface investigation, remediation of petroleum hydrocarbons, and other contaminants. He also has extensive experience with all forms of environmental due diligence related to property transactions and mergers and acquisitions. His legal and engineering background provides a unique combination of skills to help clients navigate various environmental, regulatory, and transactional issues. And his specialties are engineering firm management, obviously, as our CEO, environmental due diligence, subsurface investigation and remediation, risk identification and management, and probably a lot more that I didn't list. So thank you, Ed, for taking the time to talk and be our first speaker for our Legends of the Game podcast.
Thanks, Luke. That's quite a nice introduction. There's, a lot of technical stuff there, and it's, you listed my environmental management as the first thing, but or company management as the first thing, but really as the career's going on, that's become almost the only thing.
Yep.
So I have done not nearly as much consulting in the last few years, but still enjoy diving into some projects when I can.
Yeah, I know you're super involved with a lot of projects, even when they come up last minute, or
Yeah.
we're always trying to provide stuff for our clients whenever we can. So obviously, I brought up that you graduated from Tulsa and you went back to school for law at St. Louis University. And right after you graduated from Tulsa, I know you started at Amoco. So my first question to you is, what was it like diving into a big company like Amoco right out of school and working in New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and what was it like just diving into that kind of that world, especially right after you graduate college?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story about that is my big company experience started actually before I graduated from college because I'd worked for Amoco the summer after my junior year of college in Watonga, Oklahoma, booming metropolis, and at the end of the summer they offered me a full-time job that would start the following May, and I accepted that. It had some perks associated with it to extend my seniority, blah blah. So petroleum engineering at Tulsa was a big deal there, and then the recruiting season was all in the fall semester. I didn't go through any of the recruiting because I had a job. And then in December of 1983, before I graduated, Amoco called me to tell me that there was a hiring freeze. They're not going to be able to honor my job.
Oh no.
And so I proceeded to scramble and get a job with Schlumberger.
Oh.
So actually, the first 6 months of my career, I worked for Schlumberger in Fort Morgan, Colorado, as a wireline logger doing geophysical logging, and that was a job I did not like at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept in touch. It's one of the kind of the early lessons. I kept in touch with the people in Amoco because I had really liked that job. And then in December of '84, they called me to tell me that the job was available again, and I started, like January 2nd,
Yeah, January
1985 or
1985.
something, with Amoco in Farmington, New Mexico, which was a place I'd never even heard of before.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the way my career started off, a little bit odd, but learned certainly a valuable lesson about not burning bridges and keeping in touch with folks. So then I went to Amoco, and I had a really enjoyable experience there. As a young engineer, get a fair amount of responsibility in the oil industry. everything's kind of expensive and high dollar, and they're willing to take risks that most small businesses can't take.
Yeah. And I'm
So,
sure it was booming then too, right? I mean,
it
things
was,
were
yeah, it was coming back actually.
okay.
So there had been a downturn in the oil industry in 83, 84. Then it was coming back up in 85, and then there was actually another downturn in 88, 89.
Yeah, I mean, from what it looks like, you were there almost 4.5 years.
Yeah. Yep.
All different states, all different. I'm sure you were trying to hit up some of the national parks out there. There's so many out that way, so I'm sure you were trying to hit up some of those as well while you're out there.
I was, although I'll tell you that the way people of your generation, and including my generation now, go to the national parks and stuff was not really that popular back then. You didn't have national parks that were overflowing the way you do now. But we did enjoy. We lived in Farmington that whole time, but worked in those 4 states basically,
Gotcha.
and traveled around. And to go from place to place there is usually a pretty long drive with not a lot in between.
Yeah, and a scenic drive too. I'm sure you went to your the Four Corners where you can be in all 4 states at one time, right? Did you ever do that? Okay, good.
Numerous times.
Yeah. So you were there 4.5 years. So did you meet Paul Guerin and Jim Howe with Amoco, or were they? I know they're also senior leaders and kind of retirees from Geotech, but I know you went to school with them. I didn't know if you met them through Amoco or how.
No, we were in the same fraternity, college.
Oh, okay.
That's how we met. Paul was younger than Jim and I, but Jim and I were in the same class and actually roomed together for a year at fraternity house in college. So we've been good friends for a long time, and we have stories that neither one of us will tell at work about the other.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know Jim is now our president of exploration. I know he's been here for in 30 plus years or so. So going back to the Amoco, what made you switch roles, or what brought you back to St. Louis to work for geotechnology and kind of switch gears from the oil industry to more the engineering side?
So geotechnology started in September of 1984, a few months after I had graduated from college. And pretty much from day one, my father, who started the company, was recruiting me. And I kept saying I would never come to work here. My dad and I had a little falling out thing during college, which is a whole other story. But I was doing my own thing, and we liked living away from St. Louis because I got married in the summer of '85, so just a year out of college. I got married to Brenda, my still wife, who we've raised a great family together and had a great life together so far. And I just didn't think I wanted to come back to St. Louis. But, back then you talk to your parents like once a week, be a Sunday night when the rates were cheaper.
Yep.
And my friend, I get off the phone and Brenda's like, he's just recruiting you nonstop. I'm like, I know, it's every call.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, that's long story short, I didn't think I was really interested, but I was interested in kind of the environmental engineering side of things. And then when the oil industry did have another downturn and they were asking for voluntary severance, my wife and I were thinking about raising a family and stuff, and coming back to St. Louis didn't sound so bad then. We're both from. So I took the voluntary severance and got a little money out of it, and came back to start here in Memorial Day weekend.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you did, because you're still here, and I'm now here, and geotechnology's come a long way. So on that same note, the then and now of geotech. So what was it like when you started at geotechnology versus what it is now? I mean, I've heard many stories from that we had an office downtown, and our drilling department was here, and our engineers are there, and now we're at this beautiful headquarters in Westport Plaza that we've been here 8 years, 10 years, 10 years. I don't know.
14.
14.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I came here, we were in the Westport area. Been in 3-4 right before I came, but actually, when you come down Weldon
Pager.
Parkway there, you can still see on two of those
Yeah.
buildings, you can see where geotechnology was. So I had worked in both of those buildings over the years. And, when I first came to work here, it was about 20 people, and we did not do materials testing. We were in drilling, and environmental was just starting out. And some of the people are still here. Senthil Kumar was
Yep.
already here, and Alan Carnes, and
Gary
Doug
Shetley, he was
Lambert.
probably drilling.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Shetley was not here yet.
Oh, no?
He
Okay.
came later. I think Alan is the part that was still
Yeah.
that was here when I came. Ron Williams was here.
Of course, yep.
So
These are all
anyway,
people I need to interview here in
Yeah.
my next podcast, the Alan Carnes.
Doug's the only one that's retired. So.
That's true. That's true.
But so we were all about the engineering and the consulting side, and much less so about the testing side at that point in time. And we wore ties to work pretty much every day. Kept stuff in the car
Whoa.
if we needed to go out in the field. We worked every Saturday morning, but we did not wear ties on Saturday morning.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should bring back the ties and the formal wear. I like that. The fancy dress up. Not the Saturdays.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
No, that was pretty much the norm. And
Yeah.
I think if you interviewed people of my era in consulting and construction companies in town, you would find that most of them, it's an expectation that you're going to be in there Saturday morning. And part of it was, if you think about it, to get the same amount of work done that we can do now, in probably 30 hours, would take us 50 hours.
Yeah. All pen
We
and
were
paper and
handwriting
all hand drawn.
reports, and then we'd give it to somebody who would type it up, and finally all past that while I was still working as a staff engineer. But it's a different time. But it was still that spirit of, we're going to be super responsive. We're going to provide high quality services. And we're going to be a leader in our community. That was the kind of the mindset from day one, I would say. And and we certainly have grown a lot. That the geotechnology of now looks a lot different in terms of diversifying geographically, diversifying our service lines, doing this, substantial portion of business in materials testing, things that we not in before. But if you look at the underlying foundation, the core values are mostly the same, and we're still all about trying to support our clients and to create a great environment for our employees to work. So a lot has changed, but a lot has remained the same.
Yeah, and you brought it up. I mean, Geotechnology's mission statement is, to be trusted advisor to our clients and a leader in the community. And our core values are responsiveness, safety, quality, and integrity, and a couple more. Partnership. I need to get them tattooed on me, right? Yeah. I'll put a note card next to my bed, and I'll make sure to have them ready for next.
Just go stand in front of the wall out there.
There you go.
20 big letters out there.
Yeah. So then you kind of brought it up. You talking about your father. So I just wanted to talk to you about your father and what it was like working with him. I know you said you butted heads a little bit with him, and he'd always call and pester you. And maybe that's the geotechnology unedited version of you tell the college stories and your father's stories. But what was it like working with him, and then kind of transitioning to taking over the company?
So it was actually really neat working with him. So I came to work. I interviewed with Ron Eckelkamp and John Baker, two of founders. Ron hired me. I worked in the environmental group for another guy, Scott Miller, who taught me a lot about environmental rules and regulations and how to apply those in the consulting world. And Ron, who we name our highest honor after here, was just a really just a quality person. He was a lot of fun, and he was a grad. He was like a son to my dad, actually, and so he learned a lot from Ron. But my dad intentionally did not have me in the management circles or anything early on. I worked as a staff engineer and then a project manager, and I really built up our underground storage tank business along with Doug Lambert and a few others. We got quite large in that area, which was huge from the late 80s and through the mid 90s.
And you were working for big firms like Shell and all those. I mean,
Yeah.
it was. I remember
We
there
were
was a
the
lot of
lead,
stuff in East St. Louis, and
we were the lead consultant in St. Louis area for Shell, Mobil, and Texaco.
yeah. Well, and you had the background of
Yeah.
working for Amoco, so it's kind of a nice.
Yeah. It was really a good fit. It was a good situation. We had a great team. It was doing a lot of good work in that regard. So it was fun and fast moving. So really just kind of learned my way in the business by observing my dad more than him kind of telling me what to do.
Yeah, because you were in the field, and then you were writing reports and doing all the other
Yeah.
stuff while he was doing the kind of day to day. Or
And then on the week, when I'd go over to their house for dinner or something, once a week or
Yeah.
whatever, I'd just ask questions about kind of the business side.
yeah, no, I mean that's always a big thing. Is when you start somewhere, I mean, asking questions is how you learn. That's what it's all about. And that's what Sometimes people are scared to ask questions, and but life is a learning experience, especially in a career or a job. So I mean, especially someone who has field experience, and your dad, had known all that stuff. So that's good to have a mentor like
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure him and Ron were both mentors to you, and I'm sure many others.
Many others here.
Yeah.
And I think if you, Kenny Hemmon is one I know. If you sat down with Kenny or Doug Lambert and talked about Ryan,
Yeah.
you'd hear some good stories.
Yeah, I mean, this room that we're in is the John Baker training room, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to eventually have him on this podcast
Yeah.
too. So it'll be nice to get his take on everything. So
You'll have to find him at the Lake of the Ozarks.
that's right. I need to get him off of his fishing boat and
Yeah.
get him in here. So we kind of hinted on it, but advice for young people in the field or key lessons learned. Obviously, we just talked about it, but asking questions, that's a big one. But what other advice do you have for young people who are just starting? I mean, like you said, you moved here from Colorado, New Mexico, and you worked behind a drill rig, and you were. But what advice do you have for those people who are just starting out their careers right out of college?
Well, one is being willing to get involved in different things, and part of it is asking questions, but also showing a willingness to do a little bit extra. When I was in the oil industry, one of the things that I did was I talked to a couple of the senior engineers and leaders, and when they were having a big job that was going to happen, asked if they were going to go out there. I'd see if I could go out there with them, because the oil field is 24/7.
Oh yeah,
So you
yeah,
could go out there on something that was going to happen on the weekend. I'd never seen a frac job, whatever. So then I go out with them. I don't have any responsibility. I'm an observer, but got to be there along their side. They asking them questions, then just kind of seeing how things work.
Yeah.
What are the challenges, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I think that does two things. Hopefully, I'm learning something there. It's also signaling to that guy that I have ambition. I want to do, something more and put in a little bit extra to make that happen. So I think that's, one big thing. And it's also, I think, listening is something that I've really, to try to teach myself to be better at, but I wish I had been better as a younger person. To really just listen and absorb what's going on, as opposed to trying to think about what am I going to say next.
Yeah. No, I mean, listening and trying to learn, and now it's it seems everything you can watch on YouTube, and sometimes and don't get me wrong, you can learn a lot from YouTube, but obviously that hands-on field experience is I don't know, it hits a deeper chord and you remember it. Putting hands-on something, and we did the AEG workshop here this last weekend, and we had 20 plus students here, and we had 4 different sections. It was nice for those 20 students plus to see geophysics, to see environmental, to see soils lab, and working behind a drill rig. So they took a lot out of it. So
Well, but that's the kind of thing that you guys are giving back to the community at the same time, right? You're giving back to your profession, volunteering your time to help with that, which means a lot, and it's also furthering Geotechnology's mission, because we want to be leaders in the community. So there's a lot of things where you realize that the your personal goals, company goals, community goals can overlap and really solve or contribute to three things at once.
Yeah, exactly. On top of the fact that for the AEG workshop, I think we've had maybe 3 or 4, or maybe even more employees go through that workshop and then start at Geotechnology or work here as an intern. So it's a nice program. So and like you said, it's volunteering your time and helping out the community and everything. So as for giving back to charity and volunteering, like we're talking about, AEG and everything, I know Geotechnology does a lot of donations and charity events. I mean, right now is the United Way campaign, which, if we raise enough money, we might be pieing Ed Alizadeh in the face, or what, Jim Howe or Steve. Yeah, so we're raising money, and we did last week was a cornhole bags tournament. I am the biggest loser. Won the losers bracket, so the number one loser, but that's okay. It was for a good event, and I know you're involved with a lot of charity and organizations, especially Pedal the Cause, which we do every year in the fall. We both did an event here that we were pedaling for, what was it, 3 or 4 hours one afternoon, raising money. Ed, you did 90 minutes on the bike. So you want to, tell me more about your work with Pedal the Cause, and I know you're on the board, and you have been since July of 2020. So
so I mean, being involved in charities is something that it's, again, being part of the community and just realizing, and I've said this in company meetings here numerous times, that we're very fortunate. And even through the pandemic, we were very fortunate. We were, in a profession, we were able to keep working. So looking for opportunities to kind of share that good fortune and to help others who are less fortunate is just kind of an easy thing that I was brought up. We were not really brought up religious, but our parents who had immigrated here from Iran, there's a small religion there known as Zoroastrians, and the basic principle is do good, be good, think good. And my parents had this in a frame in our house, and it was in Farsi, so I couldn't actually read it, but my parents told me what it said. But I've always that always stuck with me as just kind of a basic way to live. So, I've had opportunity. We've had good fortune in geotechnology, so I was able to give back to different charities. I was involved in Kids in the Middle for a long time, and was president of that board for a while, and now currently on Habitat for Humanity and Pedal the Cause. And those are kind of charitable causes that are focused here in our community, and that have touched me for various reasons to get involved in those different organizations. And then, I've also done a lot on the professional society side, which is really rewarding.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I know you were the ACEC chairman, the ASTE. You were the past president.
ASFE.
ASFE, sorry.
Which is now GBA, the Geoprofessional Business Association. So
Yeah.
that's really looking out for the business interests of geotechnical firms. ACEC is looking out for the business interest of all engineering firms. So I went up through the ranks in ACC Missouri and was chairman there, and now I'm currently on the ACC National Executive Committee, which is why I missed the cornhole tournament.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, last week you were at the conference or something? Okay.
Last week. So that's a way to. It's not really charitable work. That's
no, but getting involved in the
society.
community and helping out, and it's always good to be able to meet other individuals from other companies, and kind of brainstorm, and good way to meet clients and everything. I mean, I've always liked being part of Pedal the Cause. I've biked in it the past 2 or 3 years, and it's for cancer research, and I think it's a great organization. So it's always fun to do. And
we're going to amp you up to the metric century next
year. There you go. I'm always out there on Grants Trail biking around and running around, and and that's a great group, and I like being part of that. And next week we have our a blood donation going to, so I mean that's something we're doing.
Signed
too.
up.
Nice, yeah.
At 100, I mean exactly 100 pints of blood I've donated.
Oh my gosh.
Life according to the
Yeah, I think I'm probably in the 10 to 20 range, but I guess I'll be in the 11 to 21 range after next week. I'm donating as well, so looking forward to that. Um, so you kind of hinted on it, like giving back to charity, and talking about that. But last year obviously was a weird year with COVID. So I wanted to ask you how the COVID-19 pandemic affected geotechnology. I know we wear masks. People work from home. We've been now switching to remote. I was mostly in the field, so I was masked up, running all over with the CPT rig and getting COVID tested and all that stuff. So I know it was a pretty good year for geotech. But what was it like switching gears, adjusting things, working from home? I know our IT department went through it all,
Yeah.
getting computers, everyone set up. So hats off to them. And yeah, I mean, what do you like? What do you think?
Yeah,
What do
so I
you?
mean, I would say that the first month, essentially from mid-March, it's not the first month of the pandemic in terms of how it affected
Yeah, when it all kind of yeah.
the U.S. for the most part, things started shutting down rapidly right around the second week of March. Through the end of April was one of the 2 or 3 most stressful times of my time in geotechnology. The management team met every day, including Saturdays and Sundays, during that time period because things were happening so fast, and we were trying to absorb all the information and try to make good decisions. And we established the principle early on: keep our employees safe, keep our employees working. And that was kind of the boundary. That's what guided us.
Yeah.
If you look at, we got core values, and if we say this is how we're going to navigate our way through this pandemic, that has really served us well, I think. And we were fortunate. The IT department had set us up to go to the cloud really
Yeah.
right before
Yeah,
this
exactly.
started. So that was fortuitous, and then they were incredible during this whole process. Our employees did an amazing job. We really didn't miss much of a beat. We basically shut down for about 2 weeks where we were trying to get
Yeah,
organized
reevaluate,
and figure out
reassess.
what was going to happen. But ever since then, it's been great performance by our folks. We had early on, as you may remember, we had drill crews would get shut down here and there because somebody was exposed.
Yep.
But now we're to the point where most people can be vaccinated who want to be. We strongly encourage people to get vaccinated. You and I are, while we're
Yep.
sitting here without our
Exactly.
masks
Got my
on.
booster shot
Yeah.
still yesterday, still a little sore, but that's
So it's not over, and we got to remind ourselves that it's not over. So we still got to keep our employees safe. That's what we're trying to do. And,
Yeah.
And I think it's just a testament to our employees, really, that we got through it the way we have so far, and I think it's going to change the work environment going forward. Where we got some people are working at home today.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Some people work from home, some people work half days. Our field staff has been been troopers during the
Yeah.
whole thing. Our
Amazing.
construction material testing, running job site to job site, wearing masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, and our drill crews still traveling during the pandemic. I know when it all kind of happened, I was working in Little Rock, Arkansas, doing 10-day trips, and then all of a sudden our flying back and forth turned into driving, and but we came together as a team, and we made it through, and we still are, and I mean everyone kept busy, and that was what it was all about, minus a little shutdown here and there. But you guys always met on how to adjust things or what we need to do moving forward, looking at CDC guidelines, and
Yeah.
so
Little Rock was that. So that was my last trip. It was Sunday, March 10th. I flew to Little Rock
yeah,
to visit the drill crews.
Yeah,
to
I
visit-
remember
to
you being
visit-
there. Yeah,
to
yeah.
visit the client and everything. So it was on the airport was pseudo normal, and then I came back on that Tuesday, and Little Rock Airport was empty. And I was talking to this TSA guy, and he said the last 2 days it just dropped off.
Yeah.
And that was it. I didn't get on a plane for for till the very end of 2020, really.
Oh my gosh.
After that, so
I mean, not that the Hot Springs it's the Hot Springs. The Little Rock, Arkansas airport's always that busy, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we were driving. I mean, you came down for the Super Bowl, didn't you? Or Jim
no,
was there.
Jim was there.
Okay,
Super
Jim was
Bowl. I
there. Okay.
not there for
Yeah, because he took our drill crews out because I think we had our Memphis, Kansas City, St. Louis drill crews, our loggers, our
Yeah.
CPT rig, everyone there, and we went to what was it, Dave and Buster's
Yeah.
for the event, which is crazy to think like COVID times of going
Yeah.
and playing a bunch of video games during March when all that stuff was happening. So
that. Yeah, but that's just that job's an example of what folks have been willing to do and commitment that they have to do a great job, and so
Yep.
I think as leaders, Jim going down there to be there Super Bowl weekend instead of hanging out with his family and friends here, and it's just that's what we're about.
Yeah.
We want to support everybody that is doing the right thing and helping us achieve our goals.
yeah, and that speaks a lot to being a field staff person. It means a lot to us when we have our leaders and
Yeah.
legends come out to the site, or project managers, just to kind of see what's going on, and they get to experience what's going on, and so that means a lot. It's always nice when PMs come out to the
Yeah.
sites and engineers just to get the experience and see what everyone's doing. So I wanted you to talk about like being in general. You kind of hinted at it, but being a leader of geotech and being a leader to you're a mentor to me. So just talk about your leadership role and what you can kind of teach others, and just kind of
Yeah,
where
so-
you got those traits from. I'm sure it's some of your father and Ron and John Baker and all those people, but
Yeah, in leadership, you get evolving skill set for me or
Yeah.
anybody else. And I was actually president of our fraternity for a year as well.
yeah, I didn't see that on your LinkedIn here, but
kind of drawn to leadership early on. But I remember for the first 10 years of my career after graduating from college, I would literally wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and I'd be thinking, gosh, I'm so bad at that. Some of the things I did as a leader in the fraternity house, versus what I had learned subsequent to
Yeah.
that about, and the biggest things were about communication and inclusiveness. That you just can't do enough of those two things, really. One of the things I talked about is to a number of leaders coming up is that if you and I are having a conversation, and you're a young geologist and talk about something, I may or may not remember that conversation 3 months from now.
Yeah.
You probably will.
yeah,
remember
of course.
the substance of that conversation to a great degree, and so that just reinforces the idea that words matter, whether
Yep.
they're written words or what we say. They matter, and people pay attention to them, and so certainly learn to be more thoughtful and careful about what I say and how I say it. Just try to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm far from perfect, but I certainly have learned that over the years. But also learning to try to help people get the right skills and understand why we're doing something so they can make good decisions.
Yeah.
If you understand the why, it's better able to adjust as opposed to if I just tell you, go out and drill a hole to 20 feet. You're going to run into some kind of an issue out
Yeah,
there, some
yeah,
kind
of
of a
course.
problem, and now you can't think for yourself because you don't know why you're drilling to 20 feet, what the objective is.
Exactly.
Learning to really try to communicate more than why we're trying to do something, whether that's as a company or for a project, charity side of things. So I've learned that, and the last thing I'll say is this is one thing that when Dad named me the president of the company in January of '96, kind of the last thing he told me was, not the last thing he ever told me, but the last thing he told me that then was, don't do things because you think that's the way I want you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yep.
being put in this position because you've got some skills and you need to do things differently than I've done. What I did that worked, in his era didn't necessarily wasn't going to work in mine. What I've done that has had some success here is not what's going to work. So then the person who takes over after me needs to do things differently.
Exactly.
Needs to look at things differently. So
Yeah, changing times. I mean,
Yeah.
everything's. I mean, look at us now. We're, instead of working Monday through Saturday and wearing ties in the office, now some people are working from home. You
Right.
know, like it's just one of
Right.
those things. You just kind of roll with the punches and changing times.
yeah, and then the saying, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it." It's I think kind of a misleading saying. It doesn't have to be broke in order to be improved.
hmm Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
so I talk a lot in our management meetings and stuff about incremental improvement. If we can just improve something 1%, if you improve 5 different things 1% each year, you end up 5 years down the road, you've made a dramatic improvement.
Oh yeah,
So sometimes we tend to try for a moonshot, and there are reasons to have a big audacious hairy goal, or BHAG as they call
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But there's also reasons to set small and to achieve results that way.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean it's all about trying to get to a goal and maybe just do a little bit at a time. I know our safety records gotten really good in the last few years, and that's something that we've from checking on PPE and doing more toolbox talks and observations. So and I know it's one of our key values. So I mean those are
Yeah.
little things that have led us to be have a really good safety.
And
Record and everything.
measuring things makes a difference too.
Oh
So,
yeah, exactly. Keeping track of the numbers and seeing all that stuff. Yeah, it's a
we just finished a management meeting now, and every week we look at our geotap scores, our safety observations, our tailgate safety meetings. You look at the geotap scores since we've been tracking, they have consistently gone up.
Yeah, less accidents, less speeding. Now people are less in a rush to hurry to a site and get there on time and on fashion, and they get there and they have a little bit extra time, so they're able to think about safety and do a toolbox talk and look at their surroundings and what hazards are out there in the field, and that's what are good things for our field staff to know.
And sometimes in leadership, I think you also just have to take a stand that it's the right thing to do, and yeah, it might be hard, and there's reasons why operationally maybe that is challenging. So we were one of the first companies in our industry to make it a policy that we're not going to talk on the phone while driving.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they'll do it. How are you going to reschedule people? Blah blah. And yeah, it's harder
Yeah.
operationally than if you didn't, but the data is very clear from the National Safety Council and others that the distraction is not by holding your phone. This isn't what's distracting. It's having a conversation
Yeah.
while you're trying to drive.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, a distracted drive. I mean, it's geotechnology employees go through the distracted driving class, and how to be aware of a car that has a flat tire in front of you, or a fast truck that's coming up on the side of you, or things in the road. So I mean, those are all things to look for. And if you're talking on the phone to your mom or your girlfriend or something, you're kind of thinking about what you're going to do on Friday night or any of that stuff, and you're not kind of focused on the road itself. So
And then that also leads to leadership it can't just be about words.
yeah,
People need to do it.
Yep.
It shouldn't be asking you to do something that I'm not willing to do. So have to model the right behavior as well. I'm talking to people about their kids, driving and the dad's on the phone or whatever, and the kids are in the back seat. I'm like, they're observing everything.
yeah.
So don't fool yourself that people aren't paying attention to the actions.
That's right. Well, do you want to talk about the UES stuff? That that was a big thing that just happened for geotechnology. That we merged with UES back in July.
Yep.
I got
30th. Yep.
June 30th. Yeah, I got the pleasure to meet some of the staff down in Jacksonville, Florida, and I know with it was the combination of the Southeast and Southwest and geotechnologies in the Midwest and Mid-South. So now it's NUES is engineering, construction material testing, environmental, geotechnical firm. So do you want to talk about a little bit how that was?
Sure,
I know.
Sure. I mean, so we're part of the Universal Engineering Sciences company now, and and it's really it's really an exciting development. You know, it's something that 2 years from now was not really, or 2 years ago was not really on our radar, but it's a very unique model, I think, about how these things are being put together. So it's a family of companies. So we sit underneath this universal umbrella, but there's, I think now 9 companies that are
Yeah.
underneath that umbrella. And I'm the CEO of the Midwest division for Universal, which is only geotechnology at this point,
Yep.
although we will, be announcing some things, I think, in the next 60 days, that some additions within our Midwest division. So
Awesome. Yeah.
it's an exciting time that I think is going to, and already has provided us opportunity to better serve our clients in other places. We're doing some work for a St. Louis client right now in Florida
Wow.
that
Yeah.
we wouldn't have done before, and it also creates opportunities for our employees that are going to be we're building out, we're partners in what's going to be a nationwide company. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and at St. Louis University, where I was, I had a friend who's in the Las Vegas office now. They're part of UES, so it's
Yeah.
all comes full circle, and I'm sure geotech's been expanding since the beginning, with Thalen and the offices and Erlanger, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Memphis, all the
Yeah,
above.
Memphis, and those guys. That was the Hall Blake was the firm we
Yeah.
acquired down there in 2010, and Thiel and Associates up in Kentucky and Ohio in 2015. So those were kind of the big expansions that we did by acquisition. And
Yep. Well, Ed, it was nice to have you today, and thanks for being our first speaker. And we have many more to come. I know we have a lot of people down the pipeline we're thinking about. Anyone you suggest for who we have next?
No, not really. We've talked a little bit about some of the possible candidates, so we'll see who makes sense and who you can line up. But I want to thank you and Bobby for really getting this set up. This is really cool. This is an idea that we brainstormed a couple years ago and passed it to the young leaders group here in the company, and so it's neat. You had a very nice setup, and and I'm glad that we're getting it going, and kind of institutionalize some of the memories of folks here from geotechnology. So I appreciate you guys making this happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it and get to interview everyone, and our field staff and other clients and people can listen in to kind of get an into geotechnology. So thanks again, and our first podcast for Legends of the Game is wrapped up.
All right,
There
there you
you
go.
go.